Welcome to another episode of Ask Nurse Alice. I'm your host, Nurse Alice, and of course, we're going to have a fabulous show. I am here to help you. We are here to talk about all things health, wellness, love, lifestyle, and everything else you want to talk about under the sun. It's spill some tea, and with no copays. So don't you like that? So first thing before we get started, I always like to tell people, welcome to the show. You're going to enjoy this episode. Make sure you set yourself up so you never miss an episode. Go to youtube.com/Ask Nurse Alice. Make sure to subscribe. And while you're there, like some things. I'd appreciate that. And as well, you can catch us on all your favorite podcast channels, Google's, Spotify, Stitcher, you name it. We are there. And shout out to Inclusive Media. They are the machine behind this productions, so we can get all of this information out to you guys because I know you guys need it, and I love talking to y'all, of course. And shout out to Theo and Alex, who are in the room with me. By the way, just so you all know, yes, I'm in studio. I don't have a mask on. However, my team, they all have masks on. They're more than 6 feet away. We have hand sanitizers, soap and water in the other room, all those good things. So, and they disinfected all of this, all this good stuff here before we got started. So just so you know, for those of you who are watching, you're like, what is Nurse Alice doing without a mask? But that's, just wanted to set you guys up to let you guys know. And I just want to go ahead and jump into the conversation. It's going to be a good conversation because I know I need this information and I'm here to help you. And on certain topics, I need to bring in my super friends, guys. I need to bring in my super friends, health experts, celebrities, people that you know, love, and trust so we can get the good stuff going. And so today, what I wanted to talk about was, well, actually, let me set up the scenario. Have you ever, in all your busyness, right? You got work, kids, school, your side hustle, double side hustle, all of these things going on. We got COVID we're dealing with. Things are changing. And just when you thought that you didn't have enough time in your day, there's not enough, energy, you don't get enough sleep, all these things, you're stretched super duper thin. And then someone comes up to you and they say, hey, Nurse Alice, you did a great job on X, Y, and Z. Could you help us do this? And before you know it, what comes out of your mouth is sure, of course I will. And then like literally a couple seconds later, you're like, what am I thinking? As if I really have the time. Why did I say that? So guys, the question I want to ask you guys today is, why do we say yes when we really mean no? Now, I know some of you guys are thinking like, ooh, this is going to be juicy. Well, it is. And you know what? I have one of my amazing super friends who's joining us today. And look here. That bio is long, y'all, so I have to pull this one up. So give me a second. I got to get it all right. So I am bringing someone to you. She is one of the nation's most acclaimed ADHD experts, double board certified child, adolescent, and adult psychiatrist, Dr. Kamilah Brown, aka Dr. Brown Psych MD. She's an internationally recognized 2-time #1 bestseller, podcaster, keynote speaker. She's on media. You've seen and heard her everywhere. She's also a mental wellness strategist and an acute crisis psychiatrist for professional athletes. Dr. Don's gonna fix them before they get to you. So please welcome one of my super friends, Dr. Dawn, to the show. Hi, Dr. Dawn.
Hi, Nurse Alice. Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here, and I am so grateful. So thank you so much.
Listen here. Y'all, Dr. Dawn is thebomb.com, okay? And so, man, let me just jump into it, Dr. Dawn, because I know a lot of people are like, why did he say yes when he really meant no, and vice versa, and all of these things. So, Dr. Dawn, just go ahead and break it down to me.
Yes.
Why? And we know better. Afterwards, we're like, how do I get out of this? What did I do? Man. Yes. Explain to us why. Look at that. Listen in, y'all. Y'all lean in. So, Dr. Dawn, why do we do it?
Well, it feels good, right? It's gratifying to us when we feel appreciated, we're needed. We live in a yes world. When you're young, you taught no is a bad word. right? And so it doesn't feel good when you're denied, delayed, and you're being told no. So it really comes from when we're younger. And actually, I would like to say when we're born. And if I can break it down, Nurse Alice, because I like to
Mm-hmm.
include one of the
Break it down.
areas.
Mm-hmm.
Being a
All the way.
psychiatrist, I love psychology. It's something that, of course, I do every single day. And when I looked at myself internally, I'm a reformed yes woman. How about that?
Reform. I love it. I love it. I need to get more reform too.
And you can, and it's easier than people think. So when we look at development, we look at systems. And Sigmund Freud, this was one of his amazing discoveries. You've heard of the id, the ego, the superego.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk a little bit about those systems. There's not a particular place in the brain where the ego, the superego, the id lives, but there's systems and they develop over time. So you're born with an id. Id is our instinct. It's the most primitive form of thinking. It doesn't have a moral, it doesn't have a realistic value. It doesn't even care. It's not even interacting with the external world. It's our drive, it's what motivates us, it's our desires, our fantasy.
Okay,
Okay?
id. Okay, I kind
That's
of like id.
yes.
But okay. So there's id, and then you said there's ego and superego. So what about those?
Yes. So the ego is what's realistic. The ego has an actual connection with the id, and the id does not materialize. It doesn't mature, but the ego does. So the ego is a part of the id that has a distinct relationship with the external world. So it actually looks at what's our truth, our reality.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
And then you have that super ego. The super,
Mm,
yes. And it's not like Beyonce's "You Got a Big Ego." It's not that. It's different. Okay, I just want to point that out because I think she was really talking about the id when she meant that. But the
okay.
super ego basically is our moral sense, what we ought to be doing. It has a conscious, and it also has like a self-image. All right.
Got it.
So it's what we ought to be doing. And it actually causes the guilt and the shame when when our id overpowers our ego. Our instinct, our basic needs and desires, regardless of how it's projected, how we want it, it actually compromises our ego, which is our reality. And that's where the guilt and the shame come about. The super ego
Mm.
creates those feelings that we have that are very uneasy and uncomfortable to experience.
Okay, well, Dr. Downs, so thank you for that. I mean,
Yes.
that really laid it out, guys. She took us back to school. I know y'all, we all learned this in class, but it's good in our adult life to kind of hear these things and actually be able to apply them. So we're going to get into some examples and things, but I just wanted to ask real quick. Okay, so our ego is our excuse me, our id is our instinct,
Mm-hmm.
ego is our realistic,
Mm-hmm.
and then our super ego is responsible for guilt and shame.
The
What about
morality of it. Yes.
okay, the morality? Because
Ought
I was
to
gonna
be.
say,
Mm-hmm.
there's people out there who do things, commit to things. They don't feel no shame in their game.
Yes.
Like they're just like, well, whatever. And I almost want to say, guys have an easier time with this. So kind of bring it back to the boundaries and why we say yes when we really mean no. Is there a difference between men and women when this happens?
There is a couple of things, and you said it in your question. One is boundaries. You know, as women, we're the mothers of the earth, right? We
Mm-hmm.
actually are responsible for procreation. Of course, we need help, right? But we automatically become the provider. We have
Mm-hmm.
dependents. And that's usually in our children and making sure the household is kept. I mean, we have these idealisms of what society has projected us to be.
Oh
And
yes.
so, right? And so a
Mm-hmm.
lot of that is just internal who we are as human beings or creatures of being females. That maternal instinct. Even you don't have to be a mom to have a maternal instinct. You just have to take care of something to have a maternal
Like
instinct.
plants. We got a lot of people that have plant babies these days with COVID.
Exactly. Exactly, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about women, you think about maternal instincts, you think about
Mm-hmm.
emotions. And we actually teach our children why it's important, the emotional aspect of no, especially when they're tantruming, because they're showing us an
Mm.
emotional reaction. And we actually have to deliver consequences or tell them why that's not right, those type of things in order to get the wanted response that we want. So one is the boundaries that men have an interesting time and a more simpler time of creating those boundaries because usually their emotions are not involved. Now, I don't want to stereotype men and women, but
you can go ahead. You can.
But it is right. Men are not taught to cry. They're told to be strong. Hold in your emotions. Don't reveal your emotions. True. You know, even using nonverbal cues or behaviors. They keep it inside. They learn this from a very young age, and they often learn by a parent mirroring these things. Wow. So when a father loses his mother, for example, and the son sees his father's reaction, a lot of times when I, talk to men and who will come to me for depression because of that, they bawl out in my office, but their wives have never seen them cry. Their kids have never seen them cry because that's the provider and that's the pillar of faith or the pillar of strength, in the family.
Oh my gosh.
We can go real deep. Right?
But I mean, that was such a good point because, men are taught to be strong, don't show emotions. But we're finding, especially with all of these things going on with social injustice, people losing people because of COVID-19 and all of these things, it's okay to not be okay. And, and that's why we have excellent providers like Dr. Dawn who can help people through this process. And so I understand what you're saying with that. So because of those things, that's why men don't have the emotional connection, so it's easy for them to just say no.
It's easy for them to make decisions. They even create boundaries within themselves.
Oh, they do.
It becomes routine for them that they don't even seek the emotional piece. They usually just think about it. So there's feelings and there's emotions, right? So when I'm thinking, usually the thought doesn't make me feel a certain way. They just go straight to the behavior. So it's like a vicious cycle. And they just skip that emotional part. Us as women, we tend to be a little bit more because of our roles, for example, how we were taught, how we were raised. That's why I love being a child psychiatrist, because we go all the way back to upbringing. And it depends if mom was the emotional one or dad was the emotional in the family. We ask those type of questions to understand the personality of the person that's having a hard time grieving, for example, or saying no.
So Dr. Dawn, so I am someone, I've been told that I'm an overachiever, that, that I'm always, taking on things. And people would say, how do you have time to do that? How do you? And honestly, I don't know. And honestly, I'm usually very busy. I've tied up all my time, even time I've blocked out to kind of protected time. I'm like, well, I can actually do this and I can do that. And even though I'm doing these things and it makes me feel good that I can please these people, at the end of the day, when I'm by myself, I'm mad. I'm upset with myself. Like, gosh, why did you do that? And then I start to resent the people that ask me these things. And it's not their fault that I said yes. Right. So what's wrong? What did I do wrong? And how can I fix that so I don't feel that way? Because I don't want to be mad at someone for a reason that they have no idea what I'm mad about. And at the end of the day, because it's only affecting me. So how can what did I do wrong? And how can I fix that?
First of all, you're very insightful, Nurse Alice, because we often think that we feel guilty and bad and shamed because of how we feel and the decisions we made versus the person that approached us with the question in the first place, right? So let me teach you how to say yes to saying no. And it involves one of the most important aspects, especially as a professional or a busy woman: time, money, and sanity.
Woo.
TMS.
There you go. Okay, guys, take out your notepads. If you guys say it again for us, Dr. Dawn, because this is where it's gonna get juicy. This is your actionable item. If you are someone who has problems with saying yes when you mean no, and you want help, you want to change this, you don't want to resent people, take notes, guys. Take notes. So go ahead, say it for us again, Dr. Dawn.
Time, money, and sanity. Listen, we have to protect these factors. Oftentimes, when these go unprotected, that's when the guilt, the shame, the I don't want to do this, the partial response comes out, right? It's like we're not fully committed. That's when that unravels and unveils itself. So time, and let me give you an example. Time could be you get a promotion. Your boss offers you a promotion at work. And you know what promotion becomes? Hopefully more money, but it also becomes right.
We love them coins.
You
Right.
deserve it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Yes.
maybe it's not the best time in your life, right? Because of more responsibilities. The role increases. You have to do more travel. You have more employees that are under you that you supervise, right? And
So we don't think about those things, Dr. Don, because we're like, ooh, the coins and that title and that office.
Right.
Yes, I'm going to look good in my office, in my brand new car. But you're right.
And that's the
all
id.
of those other things.
The id wants the money. It wants the brand new car. It wants the office in the corner.
Yes.
Right? The
It
super
wants that
ego.
Tesla.
Right. And the ego is like, okay, this is real. It's happening. But here comes that super ego that makes you feel a certain way. The moralistic part is, can you really do all this stuff? Knowing what's going on at home, you got a 2-year-old at home, you got one high schooler that's not doing well or doing well. I mean, there's all these roles, and it's just not the right timing. And
Exactly.
so instead of saying no, because sometimes people feel that, well, if I say no, that means my boss thinks that I can't do it, I can't deliver, I'm not ready. We automatically assume that. Instead of saying that, saying, listen, I appreciate the offer. I am ready to achieve this. However, it's just bad timing for personal reasons. And that's it. Oftentimes, we think we have to give an understanding of what that personal reason is. No one deserves an explanation. And that's when we get into trouble.
So I don't need to explain myself to anybody. I just need to say, you know what? It's not a good time for me.
Exactly. And Nurse Alice, sometimes people who want you to do the job, because you are an overachiever, they'll try to figure out the personal reason, like an action response to the personal reason.
Nosy.
You see what I'm saying?
Right. We need to be more respectful that, and especially nowadays, we know that there's so many things going on in the world. Could be a family member just died. You could have been diagnosed with cancer. It just could be a whole bunch of things. So guys, if you are on the other end of that and someone tells you no, you need to be respectful and mindful that it really is none of your business, for one. And then two, they may have things going on and may not be ready to tell you or want to tell you. So just fall back. She said what she said, and that was no.
I love it.
Boom.
You're exactly right. And if you do really want that promotion, say, how about in 6 months? How about in 3 months? How about in a year? We have this conversation again. And I believe that and that's it. You don't have to say anything else. Just leave it as brief as possible, so there's no room for even someone else to come in and try to deal with that problem for you. You just have to say, this is what it is, like you're just saying. So it avoids the guilt, the shame. You've already told them that you are fully and capable and ready to do it. It sets up boundaries, and hopefully your boss respects that your personal life is more important than your job. I mean,
yes. But
so there's a boundary structure.
No, boundaries. That's the word for the day, guys. That's boundaries. We say the word. We'll talk about it, but actually applying it. So you heard Dr. Don give you concrete examples of how you can have this conversation. And we're using employer in this sense, but it could be with your boyfriend, your girlfriend, a friend, just one of your besties. Like, no, I can't go away this weekend. Not that we're going anywhere with COVID, but you know what I'm saying? Like getting you to do something that maybe you don't have the time to do, the energy to do. So being mindful and just protecting yourself is going to be a key.
It is. How about the money situation, Nurse Alice? I get that, right? Can I borrow $10,000? Can I borrow $5,000? Again, you're successful.
What's your credit score?
TV. Oh, she has to have money. I mean, just the assumptions. And even if you do, there should be some boundaries there. So let's say someone asks to borrow some money, right? For example, I would just use, I usually don't lend out over $500 to family and friends.
There you go.
That's it. Again, it's setting my boundaries and I'm not single them out because I already told them what my premise is. I just don't lend out money. So you can say that any kind of way you want to, and you noted a value to that. So this is what I cherish. This is my money. And then the guilt and shame comes. Do you have it? Are they going to pay me back? What are their previous behaviors of that?
Listen, what about the people who always borrow money and you know they're not going to pay you back because they didn't pay you back for the last time?
Listen, a loan should automatically be redefined as something you can give away but don't expect in return. They need to add that definition to Webster's dictionary.
But there's also the issue. People get mad at you when you say no.
So that's
Ooh,
the sanity
like
part, right? And
yes,
one of my good friends told me, "Why don't you just tell people you don't have the capacity?" And you know what? In front
I
of
ain't
that
got
woman,
it.
yes, I don't have the emotional capacity. So I put emotional capacity because oftentimes family, friends, people I don't know may reach out to me all the time, every day. They may inbox me, DM me, and ask questions. Now, if it's a straightforward answer I can give, of course I'm here to help. I mean, I'm a psychiatrist. I do
Mm-hmm.
sublimation, which means it's a psychiatric word for it's um it's a great thing, a deed that I do to help people in their problems. So it's my work. That's what I do. It's a part of my personality. But I don't always want to be Dr. Dawn. I just want to be Dawn,
I know, right?
at church and social events. And so another way is I don't practice psychiatry outside of my practice or my office
Mm-hmm.
because my mind, my experience, and my voice are what makes my money. It's my
There you
career.
go.
You can't ask a surgeon to look at, your gut and see if you need an umbilical, a hernia
Listen,
removed. You have to come into the office or OBGYN, for example. So a mental health
exactly.
provider is something. So even if you're not a mental health provider, you don't have to be. If you're just that person that's a caregiver, you're the person that people go to for their problems or their troubles, but it's hard to shut off. Just let them know, well, you know what? I would love to help you, but right now I don't have the emotional capacity. So how about we talk about this on Saturday, for 15 minutes at this time, setting those
Oh, I
boundaries
love it.
long, and then you can start referring them to the person they need to be talking to or connecting with for longer terms.
I'm smiling so hard because I'm like, that's exactly what I need to say. So I'm going to go back in the replay. I'm going to write it down. Dr. Dawn said, and that exact verbiage, like,
Yeah.
and you know what? I'd like this. I'm looking forward to seeing people's response. I don't have the emotional capacity. It's like, oh, but you
Thank
know what? It's true, baby. I got to tell you, this is what it is. And this, I mean, not that I have to explain to you, but when I say it that way,
Yeah.
you can't argue me down. Like, you can't push your point. You can't push me any further. I've explained to you that I don't have the emotional capacity, and I've given you I'm still offering to help, but at a later time when it's more convenient to me. And
Exactly. And you're not saying no, that nasty
right,
word.
not now.
Right, right, not now. Exactly.
Not now. Oh my gosh. So we just went over the time, money, and sanity. So those are three great things that can help us when it comes to deciding and establishing boundaries and how we're going to handle that request, and not necessarily jump into that yes mode, and feel better and more confident with how to say no. And even if it's not a true no, maybe just not now. I love it.
That's right. And make sure that when you're saying yes to something that you have to commit to, that you give yourself time.
Oh yes.
Oftentimes people may text me, and this is a good one, Nurse Alice. I'm sure you get this as well. Hey, can you call me? I just need 15 minutes. You have no idea what the topic is, what they're, what I'm saying? You have no
I got
idea.
a couple of those text messages right now. If I really looked through my phone, hey, got
I
5
have a
minutes?
couple of them as well.
Well, you
And
gonna talk to me
so,
in 5 minutes? Like really? That's just so unrealistic.
is that really
And I
gonna
know
happen?
you're gonna take up more time. No. So
Exactly. So that's one way, but the other way is that sometimes like we're both giving people. I mean, I know you very well, Nurse Alice. You have such a giving heart, caring spirit. When people recognize that, they don't. Some people don't. They unintentionally manipulate that. If
oh,
that makes
that's
sense.
true.
So, like as a
They take
psychiatrist,
advantage.
exactly, they take advantage of that spirit that you've been gifted, because
Yes.
you can't learn that. That's a gift from God. That you have a
Right.
giving, caring spirit, okay? And
Yep.
so when people start to recognize that, they may try to manipulate that in certain ways. And so what they'll do is that they'll corner you, and they want to answer right then and there. And so all you say,
Mm-mm.
well, before I commit to this, let me think about it, and I'll get back to you in a certain amount of time, days,
There you
weeks,
go.
whatever you need. And usually those people find someone else that they need
Right.
so drastically or rapidly for a situation.
You know what? I thank you for that. And I think I've used that one time, but it's good to hear the reminder because I've definitely said, you know what? Thank you so much for thinking about me. You know what? I don't have my calendar right now. I know I have some things going on, but let me get back to you. And I'll let you know if I can or can't do it. But thank you so much for asking me. I appreciate it. So, it's a way to kind of wiggle out of that situation. without, them pinning you up against the wall for an answer. And you're right. And if you can find someone else, you should have came over here to begin with. Bye. I'm just saying that it is what it is, guys. So this has been an excellent conversation on boundaries. Why do we say yes when we really mean no? We've had the fabulous, amazing, my super friend, Dr. Dawn, give us some great information, some practical tips. So guys and ladies, get on the, rewind, and go ahead and play it again. And actually write, I'm taking notes here. I know y'all see me, those of you watching the video. I'm taking notes as to what Dr. Dawn said. Allow these tools to help you in situations where you might say yes, but you really need to slow your roll because you haven't fully evaluated everything. Because it's not just about pleasing the person in front of you. You need to take care and please yourself first. Make sure that you have your own home and affairs in order before you extend yourself. Because we know what happens when we extend ourselves. Other things start to fall apart. You'll get resentful. You'll get mad and cranky. And everyone's like, what's wrong with you? And it's really your fault. So this is where we need to take a good look at ourselves, how we're prioritizing and making our decisions. And guys, you've just had a great visit with Dr. Dawn, free of charge. Oh my gosh. You know how much this is worth, y'all? Matter of fact, go ahead and drop the cash. No, I'm just playing. I was going to say drop the Cash App. You should. What is your Cash App? We'll put it in the notes if you guys are so obliged and would like to. I'm just saying, listen, I'm not going to block that blessing. But it has been a pleasure, guys. I'm Nurse Alice. We're always here to talk about health, wellness, love, and lifestyle. Everything under the sun to keep you guys living life well. Again, with no copays, all the tea with no copays. Make sure you watch the video, share. It's on youtube.com/AskNurseAlice. Subscribe and like the videos there. You can also listen to this on all of your favorite podcast platforms. And Dr. Dawn, please tell our viewers where they can learn more about you, find out more about you, and actually perhaps even have a visit with you.
Yes. So my private practice is ADHD Wellness Center. That's ADHDWellnessCenter.com. You can actually find, I'm licensed in 6 states, so I would love to see you for your ADHD needs. I'm also available for keynote speaking. I have books, a podcast from ADHD to Amazabilities on Pandora, iHeartRadio. You can find all that information at drdawnpsychmd.com. That's DRDAWN. P as in Paul, SYCHMD.com. And soon I'll have mental health letics. You can find that information on Dr. Dawn in the upcoming weeks as well. It's my new company that's especially for elite athletes and their emotional and mental wellness.
Ooh, I'm going to have to hang out with you.
Thank you, Nurse Alice.
Hang out with you. You're welcome. Love having you as well. Guys, this has been an amazing show. If you have any questions, want a certain topic that you want to hear about, please make sure to slide into the DMs. Follow me on social media, Ask Nurse Alice. If you want to send an email, you can email info@AskNurseAlice. Otherwise, guys, this has been fabulous. Make good choices. Be kind to one another. And until next time, live well, my friends.
This has been an Inclusive Media Podcast Studios production.